Hello, I'm interviewing Mary Spirit of the Absolutely True Diary of Part-Time Indian. Now I have a couple questions for you. What was your motivating factor in you moving to Montana?
Well, I never really felt like I belonged on the reservation with my family. I had different interests, like I enjoyed reading and writing romance novels, and I always kept to myself for the most part in the basement of our home. When I moved to Montana to elope, I never left the reservation. I just moved to a different res in Montana when I was married.
Oh, okay. Well, was it hard for you to leave the reservation in the first place, and why didn't you tell your family anything about it until you'd left?
Well, it for sure wasn't easy for me to just up and leave my family. I figured it would be easier to tell Arnold and the rest of my family via email and letters. I saw that he was trying to make a better life for himself too by going to Reardon, and so I just figured it was time for me to move because I didn't have anything holding me back on the res. I tried to explain the beauty in Montana and how this was a dream come true for me. By explaining these things, I was hoping that my family would be at peace with my decision and be really happy for me.
Interesting. Well, was it hard to deal and cope with your family's drinking habits growing up?
It was actually very hard for me, and I too fell into the vicious cycle of alcoholism. Coming from a family of alcoholics, it's hard to change your ways when alcoholism is all you've ever known. We've never had the lifestyle on the res that I had always wanted. My family spent all of our leftover money on bars on the res instead of giving us that extravagant Christmas or extra clothes or things that we had always wanted. Alcohol also led to my grandmother getting hit by a drunk driver. I tried really hard to fight the battle of alcoholism, but alcohol led to my demise as well.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to interview Rowdy. I have a few questions for you. Why do you think Junior was always bullied so much growing up, and why did you always feel the need to stand up for him?
Well, I believe that Junior was bullied because of his outward looks, and he was always smarter than all the other Indians on the res. He was very weak, so he was an easy target for people to pick on him. As his best friend, I wanted to stick up for him because I knew that if I didn't stick up for him, nobody out there would. I was always a lot bigger and stronger than most kids, so I knew that I could take on anybody. Me and Junior have always tried to make up for what the other one of us lacks, and we always knew we would have each other's backs.
Okay, well, why was your relationship with Junior so back and forth?
Well, when Junior told me he was leaving for the res to go to Reardon, I couldn't believe it. I was in complete shock. I couldn't help but be mad. He was really the only person that I had, and it was always just me and him, and then losing him, it just tore me up. I wanted to be supportive, but I couldn't help but be mad that he was actually leaving me for good, as it seemed. He was living a life that I could only dream, and that I knew I would never get the chance to have.
Well, when Junior confronted you and asked you to switch schools and come to Reardon with him, what was your hesitations and why didn't you want to go?
If I knew I could have gone to Reardon, I would have, in a heartbeat. I knew I wouldn't fit in there. I knew I wasn't smart enough to go there. I knew I belonged at Will Pennant with all the other Indians on the res. I tried to make the most of my living situations and going to school at Will Pennant because I knew that that was the only place for me.